Hi, I'm Inez. I'm a third-year student at Goldsmiths and a filmmaker and photographer. And today I'll be showing you how to edit in Adobe Premiere Pro. If you don't know already, Premiere Pro is available for all Goldsmiths students. You can find a link in the description. So let's go ahead and get started in how to create our awesome videos. The first thing you need to open Premiere Pro and start a new project. We're going to name the project as tutorial. Below the title, we can see the folder in our computer where our project will be saved. We'll leave all the other settings on default as this is more advanced. Once Premiere Pro is open, this is the default layout that you get. If you look at the bar at the top, we have a few different workspaces, such as assembly, editing, color, effect. We don't need to worry about all of these yet, because we'll be working in editing for now. The first thing you have to do on your project is to import your footage. In order to do this, go to the project panel in the bottom left. Right-click in the box and press Import. Select the clips that you want to import and press OK. As you can see, the selected files will now be imported inside the project tutorial panel. In this box, you can find all your imported footage, like video, audio, pictures, or any text that you create. You can sort out your videos by name by clicking the arrows on the bottom and selecting name. Next thing we're going to do is create a sequence. A sequence is where you can assemble all of your clips together to form the final video. It can consist of multiple video and audio tracks. Create a new sequence by clicking the New button and selecting Sequence. This allows you to choose the settings of your sequence if you need a specific frame rate or frame size or other settings for a client. If you don't know what settings are right for your video, the easiest way to create a sequence is by right-clicking one of the clips you're going to use and selecting Create New Sequence from Clip. Premiere will automatically create a new sequence based on the settings of your footage, and it will import that clip into the timeline, which is the tab on the right. The name will be the same as the clip you've created the sequence from. We're going to rename our sequence to Tutorial for this purpose. Now we're going to see the timeline. The timeline is separated into two parts. The tracks in the top are for visual content, such as video, pictures, and other footage, and the tracks at the bottom are for audio, sound effects, and music. If you want to view what the footage looks like inside the timeline, you can make the tracks bigger by dragging the line at the top. As you can see, the clip we've put into the timeline has both video and audio. We're going to be working with music in this video, so we will delete the original sound in the clips later. You can scrub through the timeline by dragging the blue indicator along the sequence. If you want to trim or shorten a clip, move the mouse to the end of the clip and a red icon will appear. Drag the clip to the left where you want to cut the clip. You can also do the same from the other end. Hold down with your mouse and you can drag your clip around the timeline anywhere you prefer. Now we've got our first clip in the timeline. Let's add some more. Go to your project panel, select the clip and double click it. The clip will appear on your source monitor, which is at the top left of the screen. Here you can preview your video. You can drag the video from the source monitor to import the clip into the timeline. This will drag both the video and audio, but sometimes you only want to drag the video part. To do this, use the Drag Video Only tool to drag only the video into the timeline. You can trip this clip again if you want. This would leave a space between both clips. Press the Delete key to delete the gap in the timeline. Or you can press the Ripple Edit tool in the small tool panel on the left of the timeline to move both clips simultaneously as you trim. You can also load a video into the source monitor and select the part you want to use in your timeline by dragging the blue indicator and positioning it where you want your clip to start. Use the Mark In tool, or I in the keyboard. Press play and drag the blue indicator to where you want the clip to end, and use the Mark Out tool or letter O in the keyboard to select when you want your footage to end. Now I'm going to do this with all the clips and select which part of the videos I want in my timeline. Now that all my clips are in my timeline, let's add some music and start working in our effects. We're going to import a music track to put in our video. To do this, simply drag the file from the folder to the project panel. From here, you can drag the track to the timeline. We're going to place the track in A1. You can place it in any other audio tracks, but we're going to place the music over the sound of the clip. You can play your sequence by pressing the spacebar in the keyboard. To the right of the timeline, there are the main tools we will be using. For this tutorial, we're only going to look at the selection tool, the eraser tool, and the text tool. So far we've used the selection tool. This tool can be accessed by pressing V in the keyboard and is used to move around any clip in the timeline. We'll also be using the eraser tool. It can be accessed by pressing C in the keyboard and it is used to cut a clip in the timeline into two separate clips. Simply go to your timeline and click on the clip at the point where you want the cut to be made. We'll also be looking at the text tool, which is used to add text and titles, but we will go on to that a bit later. Now that we have all of our clips ready for the sequence, let's add some effects and let's get a bit fancy. We're going to be looking at a couple of the most common transitions that there are in Premiere. First thing you have to do is open the effects panel. Inside the effects panel, you'll find a few bins of effects that you can apply. We're going to click on video transition. Let's click on the dissolve bin to find some of them. We're going to apply a classic cross-dissolve transition. You can apply a transition to the timeline by dragging it over and placing it right between two clips. This will create a yellow bar on top of the two clips. You can adjust the transition speed by dragging this bar out to make it longer or shorter. Let's see how our transition looks. And the same goes for effects. Browse through the video effects bin or use the search bar if you already know the name of the effect that you're going to use. We're going to use a horizontal flip. Drag and drop the effect on your clip to apply it. Now let's look at adjusting effects. Go to the Effects Control tab, which is at the top of the screen. This tab is where you will find the very basic effects. The position of the video, a scale, so if you want to make it bigger, rotation, and the opacity, for example. All the effects that you apply to a clip will be found here. There's video effects and audio effects. Now we're going to look at how to create some text and titles. We're going to use the type tool found in the sidebar next to the timeline or pressing T in the keyboard. Once enabled, you can create a text box inside the preview window and start typing. We're going to name our video A Trip in the US. You can see that a new track has been created in the timeline. The text appears in video track 2. To edit the text, go to the Effects Control panel. Here, you can adjust the characteristics of your text. You can change the font, the size, the opacity. Let's scroll down and let's make the text a bit bigger. Let's change the font and align the title to the middle of the screen. If we keep scrolling down, we can also change the color of our text by selecting whichever one we want. But for this purpose, we're going to leave it in white. You can apply any effects as well to the text by using the same way as we did with the video. Simply drag and drop. We're going to use the selection tool to center our text in the middle of the screen and adjust the text box. We're going to move around our clip in the timeline to select where we want it to begin. And we're also going to trim it at the end so we know where we want it to end. I usually do a little bit of animation in the text by zooming in or doing a fade in, which we will look at it now. So now we're going to do a fade in. You can animate the text very easily in the Effects Control panel by creating keyframes. The first thing we have to do is go to the beginning of the clip we want to animate in the timeline. Now we head to our source monitor and press the button in opacity, and we set it to 0%. We'll drag the blue indicator in the timeline to choose where we want the effect to end, or in this case, the text to appear. Go back to the Effects Control panel and press Add Remove Keyframe and set the opacity to 100%. Let's see how the effect looks. We could leave our video like this and it'd be good to go, but if you want to add something extra, a bit of color correction is always good. This is a really good way to make your video seem a bit more cinematographic. We're going to open up the color workspace. On the right side, we can see a number of categories: basic correction, creative, curves, color wheels, etc. We're going to open up the basic correction tab in order to apply some of the most basic effects to our color. Here, you can adjust the brightness, contrast, highlights and shadows, and change the temperature if needed. We also have color filters, which are called LUTs. This is kind of like a filter that you would use to apply in a photo. Press the Creative tab and search on LUT. We can either browse in our computer or search in the drop-down menu and browse one of the LUTs already available in Premiere. There are plenty available for download in the internet. to add different moods to your video. We can apply our color to just one clip, or if we want to apply it to the whole video, which is what we usually do, we create an adjustment layer. This is done by going into the Project tab and adding a new item. Insert the adjustment layer in the timeline, select the adjustment layer and the filter that you want to use. Click on the name of the filter and it will now be applied. You can now apply this color correction to all the clips in your video, making it easy to color grade and saving a lot of time. The best way to learn color correction is to play around a little and see what works and what doesn't. If you know a bit about editing pictures, this will come in handy as well. We can now say that we finished editing our video. Go to the Projects panel and select the file with your video. We now go to the top of the screen and in File, press Export and then Media. This will open up the Export Settings window. Under Format, choose H.264. This is one of the most popular and efficient export settings and is supported in all devices. And we're going to make sure that the source range at the bottom of the screen is set to entire clip. If we click an output name, we can see where our project will be saved in our computer. Now we're going to press Save and then Export. And there we have our video.